Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is C Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 95 of Beer and Other Shit Podcast Adjunct series. We are sitting down with a phenomenal brewery tonight, which you might be able to see from my top, my hoodie that matches the lights in the background. To be honest, it's sick. These guys are someone we've been talking to on and off for a few years to try and get on back when we were only doing the in-person stuff. Just never worked out because I never got down there. But super stoked to finally actually have this conversation with I was about to say arguably. I think it's pretty. No one's going to deny they're one of the finest breweries in the province of Ontario. So please welcome Jeremy from Barncat and Nathan from NathanDoesBeer helping me out. Welcome, guys. There we go. How's everybody?
I'm great. How about you guys?
Doing delightful. Are you guys getting an echo there at all? Or it's okay?
I'm okay. It sounds good to me.
Oh, Nate, I can't hear you. And I can hear I can hear myself when I say it, when I talk. It's weird. I just want to make sure that everyone's hearing me without the delay. All good. We can mess with it. I'll keep pushing on.
Sound good to me.
Sound good? Okay. All we need. So, Jeremy, super stoked to have you on, bro, and to get the story. So we are going to kick off with an unexpected beer, I would argue, for a brewery as esteemed as you guys, for the Haze. This is your ESB, English Special Bitter. Come on. There we go. Man, I'm incredibly curious to see where this comes from. I feel like I'm seeing more and more of this style lately, which... I feel like it came out of the blue. Like all of a sudden, like there's ESBs everywhere from breweries that are sort of known for, you want to call it hype or whatever you want to call it. Talk to us about this, man. I'd love to hear where it came from and what the vibe is.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of those things that's been on our beers to brew list for a long time. Matt is a huge fan of classic English styles. And he's like, I want to make an ESB. And finally we just fit it into the schedule and we're like, let's do it. And I think kind of also selfishly, we're trying to make classic styles a little bit hotter again, maybe, or trendier or something. And the hope is, something like this will, drive some excitement.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's really all it is though, as far as just Matt wants to make them and that's kind of it.
Yeah. This has been on his sort of the way we kind of figure out beers is some stuff is more I want to make and some stuff is more he wants to make, and he's wanted to make this style for a long time, and finally we're like, you know what, it's time, so we did it.
I love it, man. Great cutler. Looks sexy. Nate, are you okay?
You guys able to hear me now?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay, thank goodness. All right.
No worries. Sorry to stress you there. Did you pour yet?
Nope, not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Okay, we'll wait for you. Jeremy poured. Do you want to talk?
I'm catching up now. Sorry about the sound difficulties there.
No, man. Part of the tech thing with having virtual convos. Great nose, nice and kind of like fresh bread. Exactly. Mine's kind of cold. I imagine it'll warm up as we talk.
Yeah, this is a beer that'll benefit from warming up a little bit, but
perfect.
So.
Boys, welcome once again. Cheers. Get in you.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers, man.
Pleasure.
Good to have you on.
Delicious. Man, I would I don't know, a year or two ago, I'd be like, ESB, come on, man. But now I'm genuinely stoked for it in a way. I think you actually are onto something there, man, that you guys are playing a role with others in similar positions to making the style hot again. What's the response? Yes. Yeah, talk about that. But yeah, and I'd love to know the response from your audience and your customers. What are they? Are they why? Or are they hell yeah?
I think a lot of people are excited. One of my favorite things about this beer is it's beer that just tastes like beer, which is almost a little bit of a rarity these days.
It's very true.
So when we did it, there was the response was great. It sold quite well. It doesn't sell as well as Hazy IPAs, obviously, but it sold well enough that we'll definitely do it again.
Okay.
And Yeah, we've seen like we see people like every weekend they come back and get more and more. So like there's certainly people enjoying it. So.
Okay. It seemed to be.
And we
go. Sorry, man.
I was going to say, and we haven't actually got a cease and desist for that label. A lot of people were convinced we would, but we haven't so far.
Could you speak to what it's from?
I was gonna.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I know
I was
it.
going to ask about that.
I can't put my finger on it, but I've absolutely seen this before.
That's the Fuller's ESB label, just like modified to look like the Barncat logos.
That's sick. Cheeky, but I'm here for it.
It's like a homage to that beer. Like that's what kind of inspired this beer. So
I love it.
Thought it'd be funny.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's like even more blatant than than some of the Blood Brothers logos, like the Blood Light or the Blood Var. I'm here for it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it was very blatant. I just told our designer kind of make it look like this, and he made it look exactly like it. So like, you know what? Let's just go with it.
Let's just run with it.
I guess the worst that can happen.
You change it, whatever. Maybe you make friends with them and collab. You know.
Exactly.
This is wicked. So I'm getting a lot. I don't know if you want to go through some of the tasting notes of this beer, and because I really feel like this will appeal to the crispy boys, the people who are really appreciating the resurgence of lagers and pilsners and stuff. I feel like although it's an ale, it's an ale, right?
It's an ale, yes.
It's an ale, but it's on that vibe. I think I enjoy it because it's not too much of a stretch from the crispies. There's something about it that is just it's like refreshing and light. It's 5.5. Yeah. What's the sort of the malt makeup? Is there any specific hops in this?
Yeah, so I can tell you exactly. So like you said, like if you like kind of crispy pilsners, this should be right up your alley too. Yeah. So just a little bit more malty, but really like almost kind of like refreshing and just you keep wanting to drink it. So
yeah, I feel like is there like
but we did it.
Go.
Say we did it like as traditional as possible. So it has English malt, English hops. We used our regular ale yeast, which is also English, so it's English everything. Right. Except Cambridge water, but otherwise we tried to make it just as traditional as possible.
I really enjoy it. Nate, do you have any thoughts on this, bro?
Yeah, I was thinking that it's got a rather sweet malt bill to it, like the good kind of like caramel English malt vibe like going on, which is that pretty typical of the style, and for 5.5%, pretty like nice and full body. It's got good it's got good body to it, and and good full flavor.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. This is great. It's exactly what I was hoping for. So, oh man, amazing. So, bro, I'd love to hear your story. I imagine you could probably speak on behalf of Matt from maybe his side, but like how you personally, discovered beer and got into it to the point where you wanted to make a living out of it, and then how you connected with Matt and how that led to the to opening the brewery itself.
Yeah, no problem. I got into beer probably about 2009.
Okay. Early.
Yeah, it's been a while now. And then I kind of got into homebrewing shortly after because I quickly kind of figured out that most of the beers that I wanted to drink, we couldn't get in Ontario.
Right.
So it was like, it was the beer scene back in 2009 in Ontario. Like half the time you couldn't even get an IPA in the LCBO, which is crazy these days because half the stores are IPAs now. But there were times when you could go to the LCBO and there was no IPA on the shelf. So I was like, if I can't get an IPA, I'm going to make one. So I just started homebrewing because there wasn't really beer that I wanted to drink.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. The LCBO is a very different scene. Very different scene back in back in those days. Like you definitely would and that would have even been pre. Kind of like the Ontario Pale Ale, taking over the the traditional traditional malt pale ale that everyone was putting out kind of between 2010, 2013 sort of thing. So yeah, going back even further to 2009, I definitely couldn't think of any IPAs that would have been and especially not Ontario IPAs for that matter.
Yeah, that was pre-Bone Shaker, pre-Mad Tom, pre-Smash Bomb.
Yep.
The only IPAs you could get in LCBO, Dogfish Head 60 Minute was here for a while, then that disappeared. And then Southern Tier IPA was pretty much the only sort of more modern IPA you could get for quite a while. And it was usually like at least 6 months old when you found it. So it was pretty bleak back then.
I remember that too. I got into it in 2011, and I started this while I was taking a photo, like doing beer reviews, to discover you had to get 365 in a year. So we just started digging through it. I remember getting the Southern Tier a lot. I don't remember looking at the dates because I didn't know that was the thing. But yeah, the in 2011, I think it was a different scene. It was like maybe Trafalgar, I think, and what's the one? Black Creek, I think, had those old school Ontario ones where they were like from the 1800s and recreating recipes and stuff.
Oh, yeah, like Black Oak and Black Oak, I think.
Black Oak? Okay, something like that. Yeah, there was.
Yeah, it started to get better after a few years, but I had started homebrewing probably 2010 and then just kind of went from there. And I think it was the 2011 Toronto Beer Week homebrew competition. I ended up coming second overall, and then so the prize was we brewed my beer at Amsterdam. I don't know if any of you guys remember, they did a beer called The Nightman Cometh. It was a Always Sunny reference. It was a black double IPA.
In what year? 2011.
That would have been probably early 2012 or late 2011.
Oh, did it get LCBO release, or was that brewery only?
No, it was just at the brewery. That was Amsterdam when they were back at the bottom end of Bathurst.
I remember
before their new facility.
Yep. I've been there a few times. It sounds familiar. The Nightman Cometh. Okay, so that would have been before you kind of ahead of your time. Being you did what, like a black double IPA? Like that's kind of
black double IPA.
Jeez.
Yeah, back then that was kind of crazy. The reason I homebrewed it is because I'd never had a black IPA. And I'd never had a beer with Citra. So I'm like, I'm going to make a black IPA with Citra. And that became that beer. So it was kind of...
That's awesome. That must have been a pretty cool experience to, going from home brewing to moving into a big system with kind of one of the OGs in the province.
Yeah, it was awesome. Ian at Amsterdam, me and him brewed it, and it's like just a fantastic day. The beer turned out amazing. The response was cool. So that was my first sort of experience with commercial brewing. Way back in like 2011.
Amazing.
Damn, that's a pretty cool that's a pretty cool intro to the scene. That to be able to work with with one of the OGs like Ian on like in Amsterdam in kind of the early days of the kind of emergence of the scene.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity, and I think they had just kind of started recently making Bone Shaker. That was the first time they were doing Tempest too. So they were kind of one of the pioneers in Ontario of doing more adventurous styles. So that was pretty cool to work with them way back then.
Was that did that further inspire you to move in the direction you guys did with Barncat, as far as you weren't like restricted by maybe less creative minds in this earlier phase?
It kind of felt like for me that maybe I was onto something. Like I'd done well at that competition. I entered 4 beers, and then 3 of them won their categories. 1 came in second. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's something here.
Wow. Okay. So then that's 2012. You've got the first sort of commercial brew under your belt as like a collaborator with a major brewery.
Yeah. Yep.
How did you move from there?
I just kept homebrewing. I homebrewed. Like we didn't open until 2016. We didn't get the ball rolling on Barncat till probably late 2014. So I was just homebrewing the whole time, like not really ever intending to do like the brewery thing back then, but I was just enjoying it so much and just being able to make the styles that I wanted to drink. And probably late 2012 was my first trip to Hill Farmstead, and that just like completely blew my mind.
Yeah, I bet.
And like I'd never had a hazy IPA.
Yeah. It seems to be that a trip to Hill Farmstead is is what sparks for for lots of people like in the scene. That seems to flip a switch for so many brewers.
Yeah, back then especially, because like I said, I don't
Mm.
think anybody else was really doing hazy IPA back then, and I didn't even know it was a thing. I went to Vermont basically to drink Heady Topper, and then I was like, while I was there, I'm going to check out this place called Hill Farmstead that people are talking about. Drove out to the middle of nowhere, waited in line for like 3 hours, and then got samples while you're waiting in line. And my first beer, I remember looking at it, I'm like, what the hell is this? It looked like a glass of yellow milk or something. And it
Was it
just like completely blew my mind.
was it Edward?
No, it was Society and Solitude #5.
Ooh, gosh, you never forget that. So they
So
were
it was,
doing new.
I think like,
Go on.
I was going to say, yeah, it was just like Nelson Sauvin Heavy Double IPA, I think. And it's just crazy.
Jeez.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned Heady, which is a great example of, like, arguably Heady is a Vermont IPA. We'd probably consider it. Was Hill Farmstead making Vermont IPAs, or would they be more similar to what we would consider a New England IPA today?
I think they were probably the first brewery to do the modern hazy IPA. I don't know of any
Mm,
brewery who was doing it before. Heady Topper, I think, was kind of the precursor to that.
yeah,
Like it's not exactly the modern hazy IPA, but it was like one step in that direction. And I think Hill Farmstead kind of took it further. As far as I know, I don't know if anybody did it before them. I think they were probably the first.
I always wondered. That's why I ask. Like, I've had this conversation in the past, and I thought it might have been Treehouse or Trillium or something. But we knew the
No,
Vermont.
so Treehouse wasn't even a thing back then yet. Like
Okay,
Hill Farmstead opened in 2010, I believe, and that was in 2012 that they were making modern hazy IPAs, and I believe Treehouse came shortly after that. But so I'm for my money, I think it was Hill Farmstead.
sounds accurate to me. I love
And
it.
that's interesting because that's quite the span of time from like if that was the like kind of the point of inception until it was kind of even known that that was a thing, because I remember even still like when they were starting to gain prominence, I would have said, and tell me if you think it was like a different time, but I would have said like around like 2016 kind of when they were really starting to gain prominence, when people would start to think that like beers sometimes look like these that like look like this glass of orange juice sort of thing. So if they had actually been around since since like 2012 2014, and had just kind of been lurking around quietly before they exploded like a few years later, and like in 2016, that's interesting how it kind of had that really slow um that slow kind of sitting in the background before it just exploded everywhere from 2016 onwards, I would say.
Yeah, they were certainly doing it a lot earlier than 2016. Sean is like notoriously secretive about his brewing, so I think not a lot of breweries knew how to make them back then because he wasn't saying anything,
Right.
and it's definitely a little bit of a different approach than people were making IPAs back then. So once sort of other breweries figured it out, like you said, like Treehouse kind of came next. Tired Hands was right there too.
Mm.
New England Brewing Company was doing it a little bit, and I think those were the main ones. Trillium too. Those are the guys who kind of put it on the map, I think, in the States, and then it kind of slowly made its way everywhere else.
Interesting, fascinating that whole history. I'd love to get that official, because that's, I think what you're saying is that sounds very very accurate. I just feel like there's no, like, law. You know how there's like everyone always jokes about the IPA origin story. I feel like it's not as well known for like the New England IPA origin, and sort of like there's a lot of like conjecture or hearsay, and like pretty. I just haven't heard anyone either like this is how it happened type shit. But
For my money, that's how it happened. So
that's what we're saying. God damn it. So
yeah,
that shit blew your mind. Obviously, you were quite conscious that these things did not exist here in Canada, period, at the time.
yeah.
You said you were there in you started Barncat at the end of 2014, but you were going there in 2012, which, would have probably, did you come back from there and being like, what's up? And like, this kind of sucks? Or did you try and mimic those beers with your homebrew?
Yeah, I was like just so inspired. Like I need to make beer like this.
Right.
Nobody knew how to do it, so I remember myself and a bunch of other people were pretty active on one of the homebrew forums, and those guys, we were trying to figure it out. Like nobody really knew exactly how to do it. There was all kinds of theories. Like, was it the water? Was it the yeast? You know, what are they doing? And so we just kind of worked through it. And I would say, like, probably for me, maybe like 2013, I brewed sort of my first modern hazy IPA. So I've been doing it for quite a while.
And
Interesting.
did you, when you did that first hazy IPA, were you like, I think we're onto something here. We could actually, make this happen here in Ontario?
I wasn't really thinking about that yet. I was just like enjoying the process. But kind of as time went on, I was just so surprised that style wasn't really taking off in Ontario yet. Like in the States, it had existed for several years and just nobody had done it yet. So like, as far as I know, in 2016, we were the first brewery in Ontario to release the modern sort of hazy IPA. I'm going to keep making that claim unless somebody can prove otherwise. But for my money, I think we did it first.
Okay. When was that, would you say? So was the end?
That would have been April 2016.
Honestly, before you just said that, my only thought for that would have been Sawdust City's Juicin', which I believe was in the fall of 2016. So
yeah, that came after for sure. Probably the next one, Redline actually did Clutch.
That's true.
Which back then was like a hazy sort of pale ale. That came a little bit after us too. The only thing that really came before was High Road Bronin, but to me that's more like a heady topper as opposed to like the modern sort of hazy.
Yeah.
It's marketed as a Vermont IPA too, I think.
Yeah.
And
so they were before, but
and even shortly after that, Dominion City with Sunsplit was another one of the early ones in in Ontario.
Yep.
But it definitely followed. Sawdust City with Juicin'. So
Sunsplit was
so
2017.
you've been ahead of them too. Yeah, I think so.
And then at some point, I think it might have been like late 2016, Bellwood's kind of made the transition over to like hazy IPAs. Like Jutsu kind of became like a hazy pale ale. So it all kind of happened right around the same time, but I think we did it first.
Let's say I love it. What was the first beer? What was it called?
So the first hazy beer was actually a pale ale. It was an all Pacific Jade pale ale, but the first IPA was called Eminence. It was mostly Nelson, and that would have been, we brewed that in April 2018. Probably released it right at the beginning of May. So that was the first like IPA, and we still do that beer.
I was about to ask. That's sick. So, okay, amazing. So that's actually really, really good history because I never heard that before. When you guys started working on it on the brewery, end of 2014 to 2016, was that the intention? So, I guess you and Matt were already friends, and you were like, "Hey, let's do this." Like, how did that work? And then, what was the intention? What were you trying to do with it?
So originally Barncat was supposed to be myself and somebody else. And then this person backed out. And then there was a thread on, I believe, Bar Towel that somebody had heard that like it was in the works and was asking. And I said, well, like my partner backed out, so I don't really know exactly what's going to happen with it. And then probably about like 20 minutes later, Matt texted me and he's like, if you want a partner, I'm in. So I'd known Matt for a couple of years. We'd been trading homebrews, so like, it just kind of made sense. So then we kind of got the ball rolling, and that's how that partnership happened.
Okay. You both brew?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of just do everything. There's two of us, and yeah.
That's amazing. So why did you choose Cambridge? I guess is that where you guys are from?
We both worked in Cambridge,
okay.
So it just made sense.
Gotcha.
And back then there was only Grand River in Cambridge, so they were at like the bottom end of Cambridge, and we're up kind of closer to the 401. So it just made sense. It's like we both work here. There's no other breweries other than Grand River, and then there's plenty of like industrial space that's relatively inexpensive. So it just made sense.
Okay. So it took 2 years to do the build out, get the equipment, all that type of stuff. And I imagine you were both probably working full-time jobs while you were putting it together.
Yeah, I think we got the ball rolling like late 2014, and then we opened on April 1st, 2016. So we were actually 2 weeks away from our 6th anniversary.
Ooh, amazing! You got anything coming for that you can talk about?
Yeah, we have. I got a bottle of it right here. I can kind of show you if we can.
Oh, I saw this. The wheat wine and the barley wine.
Yeah, I saw your post about this on Instagram, and I was like drooling over it. That's
Yeah.
like that sounds fantastic. You want to tell us about those?
Yeah, absolutely. So what it is, it's a wheat wine, which is basically a barley wine brewed with a high percentage of wheat. We actually brewed this also with local maple syrup. There's a farm about 15 minutes north of us, which we've been getting all our maple syrup from, just trying to keep it as local as possible. So we brewed it with their maple syrup, and then it spent 20 months in bourbon barrels.
Jeez.
And then we
Amazing.
also made a vanilla that we added Tahitian vanilla beans to one of the barrels.
That's amazing. So there was the wheat wine, and there was, is it two different? Well, there was two bottles. Were they both different?
Yes, so it's the same base beer, and then just one of them has vanilla beans also.
Gotcha. Amazing. And those are the main two products that you drop in a couple of weeks, because this will come out probably after.
That's yeah. So that's the official anniversary beer, and then we have plans for probably like 3 other beers on the actual anniversary if everything works out. But like that is the official Barncat 6th anniversary.
Love it. Amazing. So that's some. Do you ship? Do you guys don't do shipping as much, right? Or do you? Like,
No, we don't. We don't actually do any shipping.
okay, cool. So they're going to come down to Cambridge.
Yeah, but the emergence of the independent bottle shops has really has really expanded your guys' reach, though, because because it is getting into stores like all over the province, where like so people further away are able to get your stuff a bit a bit easier now. Like I'm lucky to be able to get your stuff every now and then at like in the Dominion City store, because I know Farrell that like does his trips out like out your way, and I think when he's in your neighborhood, he usually picks some stuff up for for the Dominion City store. So it's nice to be able to get your stuff locally that way.
Yeah, anytime Dominion City's in the area, they always stop in and buy beer for the shop. And then we do a whole bunch of like other bottle shops too. Probably the big one is Bevy Bira. They kind of ship our beer all over the place too. So a lot of people who buy it, I think they ship out of the province too. So a lot of people who get our stuff, it's usually through them. So I mean, they're doing kind of a cool thing, and we see them every week. They get every beer we do. So that is an option there for sure.
Dope. Someone here in Montreal told me about them actually, and that's how he gets a lot of stuff from Montreal. So I'm sorry, from Ontario. So yes, I know exactly who you talk about. Nate, I saw you move your mouth.
No, oh no, I don't think so. Well, I was just thinking,
okay.
like I've had stuff from like from Bevy Bira, but like before as well, and yeah, they're a bit of an interesting one, because I think like they're the only one of the only ones that I can think of in the province, like these independent bottle shops that also do shipping around, like any of the other ones that I'm familiar with. It's usually just available locally, or some of them will do local delivery, but most of them don't ship, whereas Bevy Bira does. So and if they're getting most of your releases, that's a pretty good way that people around the province, and sounds like even beyond, can get access to your stuff, even even through them. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. So I know we sort of tangented off for a second. So okay, so it took a couple of years, got everything together. When you opened, you were doing, and I guess up until the 2020, you were doing predominantly growler fills with occasional, like very, very high demand can runs. What was the thinking behind, what were your intentions as far as, like, you weren't trying to turn this into some sort of crazy, shifting cans all the time business type of thing. You were just sort of like making the beer you wanted to drink in small batch quantities, and people had to come by to pick it up. Like, what were you looking to create here?
Yeah, well, going back to growlers, the idea behind growlers initially is just because like it's the most low cost option of putting beer in a package and getting into people's hands. And I think there is something to IPAs out of growlers. IPAs always taste a little bit better out of growlers. I think there's some magic that happens in a growler. So there was like multiple reasons behind that. So we did that for a couple years, and then IPAs were definitely our bread and butter. That's kind of what we became known for. But we were also like really interested in doing sour beer and like big stouts, barley wines, things like that. And it's kind of the same things we do to this day with a few other little things like ESB sprinkled in here and there. We've been doing more lagers recently, which is really nice too. So,
So when you opened, I'll go on it.
No, I was going to say, yeah, like I had noticed that like there's been more loggers like circling through the lineup like recently, which is which is just great, and that and some of them are really good for a brewery that like you know that really kind of made its name on that like on the haze scene. To see more loggers come through is pretty great, and they're and they're really good too. The one that sticks out in my head most recently, Calico Pills. I think I had back in the fall. That that's a real that was a really good one. I'm thinking there was also a Vienna Lager at at some point there as well. Yeah, is there anything in particular that that fueled you guys getting those more into your lineup, or is it just like availability of brewing space or something like that?
Mostly it's just like about what's going to sell is the biggest thing. And, you know, we wanted to be drinking lagers for a long time. So eventually we're like, you know what, let's just try it and see how it's responded to. And lagers definitely became like pretty trendy over the past couple of years. So they've been selling well for us. Like in the summer months, especially, they sell extremely well. The one downside is, like you said, like tank time, it does take longer. So they hold up tanks a bit longer, which is, you know, not ideal for a small brewery when you have limited tank space. So we fit them in when we can. We don't want to rush them or anything like that. But the fact that they're selling well, people are liking them, and then just we have lager to drink instead of just only IPAs.
That's fair. That's completely fair. So from the beginning, it was the same mix. I mean, obviously, if I think of Barncat, I think of hazy IPAs. I mean, I imagine, you know, that probably a lot of people do. But from the beginning, you were doing all of these different styles, like all the ones you mentioned, barley wine stouts, crispies, all that sours, etc.
Yeah, we've been doing that right from the start. I think we released our first sour in late 2016. We released our first Imperial Stout in the summer of 2016. We actually did the coffee barley wine in probably late 2016, and nobody really knew what to make of it. Like a lot of our customers had never even had barley wine before, and then putting coffee in a barley wine, they were like, "What the hell is this?" And it didn't sell very well. So we took a while to revisit that. But yeah, we've been doing all that stuff. Like we did our first like barrel aged Imperial Stout in late 2017. So we filled those barrels in 2016. Like all this stuff we're still doing today, we did back then. But yeah, we definitely kind of gained like notoriety from the hazy IPAs.
Right. How did that sort of like, because you're in a place that was sort of, you know, further away from somewhat like a major city, I guess, outside of Toronto, and usually, like, you know, obviously that's the most people, and everyone in the cities are typically inward looking as opposed to outward looking. How did you guys go about getting that attention and that traction for what became the biggest hype style in a place where people couldn't buy cans, you didn't ship? I mean, back then I don't think shipping existed anyway. But, you know, people would have had to make a trek out to see you guys to buy some growlers and all that type of stuff. Like, how did that word spread? Was it just organic, or did something happen?
There's nothing like in particular. I think it's one of those things, like something like Untapped, you know, you can gain like some reputation through there. People are having beers and liking them, and they're getting high ratings, things like that. And somebody will come, and, you know, through Instagram, that was big too, like just posting photos of like hazy beer, and people are like, oh shit, you guys are making that style. And like when not many other breweries were. So
right.
It was kind of that. It was kind of like a slow kind of build. Like we stayed under the radar for a long time, I think. And then just kind of slowly, like more and more people found out. And like you said, with growlers, you don't have like a huge reach. Like we weren't really in Toronto at all. Like people from Toronto were like, you know, we want to drink your beer, but we wanted to come to Toronto. We're not going to actually drive to Cambridge to get it. So
yeah,
it took a little while to kind of gain that momentum.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, go on, Nate.
Yeah, I had been aware of you guys after like mostly through Instagram, like kind of becoming like and seeing like the hazy IPAs and whatnot, mostly from like the Cambridge KW locals and whatnot, and I was more into trading or like in those early years, and like there was a mate that I had who at one point when you did your first canning, which was triple Simcoe, like which is a pretty bold like beer to get like to go for the first one in cans, and he was kind enough to send me a can of that. That was the first taste that I had, like this huge Simcoe bomb triple IPA. How did you land on like on triple Simcoe for your first canning run?
Yeah, so we wanted to do a triple IPA for quite a while, but we thought like it wasn't really something we wanted to do in growler fills. Like 2 liters of triple IPA would, for most people, be pretty overwhelming. Even 1 liter is like crazy.
Yep.
We're like, if we're gonna do a triple IPA, it should be canned. And back then, there was actually a mobile canner who just opened in Cambridge. He hadn't really done a whole lot of canning, and he's like, if you guys want like for me to come out and can a beer for you, like I'll do it at my cost. It'll be like practice for me and get some beer in cans for you guys. So like, we'll do that for sure. And then trying to figure out the beer, like we knew it was going to be a triple IPA. I was browsing Lupulin Exchange, which is like a website for breweries buying and selling hops. And we found some Simcoe that actually Bench was selling. It was like the previous crop year, but it was half the price of Simcoe normally. We were like, if we're going to buy Simcoe at half the price, we might as well use double the amount. So that's where that came from. Like, let's just put an absurd amount of Simcoe in this triple IPA, and that's where that beer came from.
I love it. That's sick. Speaking of IPAs, it's time.
Yes, Glow Cloud.
Yes. Nate, you can go grab that. Tell us about this one, bro. This is a 6.8% single IPA.
Yep, so that's a beer we've been doing for a couple of years. The one unique thing about that beer is it's brewed with flaked corn also.
Okay. What does that do for it?
It just gives it like a really light body. Like you'll see when you pour it, it's like very, very light.
Yes, okay.
You do kind of get a little bit maybe of that corn sweetness, but it's still like a dry beer. So that's the unique thing about that. And then the hops are Mosaic and Idaho 7. And Idaho 7 is probably like an underappreciated hop a little bit, but it's a fantastic hop.
You're speaking to 2 of us. That's both of our favorite hops.
Okay. Most people don't appreciate it enough, I don't think.
No.
Idaho 7.
Big facts. It's got like a really unique profile that I didn't realize until later on. It's like some sort of like a herbal kind of thing going on. Is that accurate? Am I remembering right?
It definitely does, and then it also has like it's very orangey, I think too. So.
And I think I missed the whole description. Like, was this just Idaho 7, or is it Idaho 7 and something else?
Mosaic.
And Mosaic. It's 50-50 Idaho 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one thing I was mentioning, it's brewed with flaked corn also, which is pretty unique for an IPA.
Yeah.
Oh, that is unique. Yeah.
So I see what you mean. You're saying it's got the lighter body. I mean, as opposed to maybe the straight murk that you would typically expect in a Barncat IPA.
That's a little bit more so due to like what you hop it with. Actually, some hops create more murk than others. So Mosaic and Idaho 7 are sort of lower on the murk scale.
No shit.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like one of the beers you're gonna drink, I think we sent you Cats in Space. That's one of them, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's your murky boy. That's like ultra murk. That's all galaxy. So that's like high on murk scale. So we'll see when we get to that.
Okay. I didn't know. First of all, because I want to sip this. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Smells great. Glorious. I like it. Would you say? I feel like I'm getting dankness off the top. Is that? I feel like it's pretty. I feel like it's pretty consistent with what you guys do. You guys do a lot of like dank forward beers, I guess, or is it just this one?
It just depends on the hops, really. Like I think what you're getting is predominantly Idaho 7 dankness,
Okay.
Like it's 50-50 Idaho 7 and Mosaic, but Idaho 7 really dominates. So that's you're getting the dankness from that. So it's really hop dependent. Like you could take the exact same base beer, change the hops, and have it like be totally different. So
yeah, this is delicious. So what would the repeat again with the flaked corn that would give it a what specific characteristics in a beer like this?
the main reason we do it is just try to make the color like as light as possible.
Ah, okay. For a light, and what is that? Just because? No particular other reason? Just
Yeah, just no reason. And then also another thing it does is that like the flaked corn is like almost like less flavorful than barley, so it's just sort of like a better vehicle for the hops to shine through.
I
see.
I like that. Yeah, it's super tropical, citrusy.
Yeah.
Really smooth. It's got like the little bit of chalk, like a touch of that kind of chalkiness, which I'm a big fan of. Nice and dry. This is great, man.
It does. It does also like I think as you're describing there, like it lightens up the body like a little bit. Like I think the body is a bit lighter, like than a 6.8% might typically be. Like this is almost like drinking as light and easy as a pale ale with like with kind of a slightly lighter body is what I'm finding.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind it.
I like that. This is fascinating. The murk situation, though, I just want to ask more. Like, this is the first time I've heard about specific hops contributing to the murkiness of a beer. Is there sort of like off the top of your head, do you know, like you just said before, like Idaho 7 and Mosaic are not super murky, but Galaxy is hella murky. Was there other ones that,
Yeah.
you know?
It seems like a lot of Australian hops are quite murky, like Vic Seeker will do that too. And New Zealand hops too, like Nelson can get pretty murky too. And it also depends on your dry hop rate also. An interesting thing about like our hazy IPAs is prior to dry hopping, they're pretty much crystal clear. And then after dry hopping is when they murk up like that. So and then depending on the amount of hops and your hop selection is where you get that sort of how, hazy or murky it is.
Did you know this, Nate? I honestly, I've never.
No,
heard
I had
this.
no idea. So with the dry hopping rate and whatnot would obviously play a huge part. But does that have anything to do with the composition of the hop? Like if it's one that's more oily, or like an alpha acid content like type thing? Do you know if there's something at the chemical level with the variety of hop that does that?
It certainly could be an oil thing. I don't really know the science behind it, but it's definitely like an interaction between the type of yeast you use and the hops. So yeah, I don't exactly know what it is, but yeah, it seems like oilier hops will do that more. So I don't know if it's something there or not, but
honestly, I swear for BAOS we've probably done at least 300 podcasts, and a lot of breweries that we speak to, make hazy IPAs, and I swear that's never come up in any of these episodes. So I'm like fascinated.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like we've done this for quite a while now, so just to kind of play around with that and see different like haze levels and things like that. Like depending on our hop choice and hop amount, we could use the same like base beer and make it significantly less hazy or so murky you can like not even see through it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I mean, looking at I poured the rest because I got a bit of a smaller glass here, so I poured the rest in it, and it did murk up a little more than what it looked like in the beginning. But I guess we'll see, like you said, in the next one. As far as
Cats in Space comes out, you'll see.
Yeah, I swear I've had.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have had it in the past. Yeah, that shit is fine. Oh, the Cats in Space is right. Oh, it's 100% Galaxy. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. I love it. So. Yeah, okay, so you're talking about the growlers. So then, I guess it just sounds like it was word of mouth is how you guys grew. And kind of what Nate said, but like I can specifically think of a handful of people I recall on Instagram who were always like living nearby and, being able to pick stuff up pretty easily that we weren't able to get. I'm here in Montreal, obviously, but I was in Toronto a lot, so even then it wasn't like I wasn't always able to make to get out west or whatever. But would that be the main way you think that it's kind of, it was just like great, just like kind of the old school, like great product, people want to talk about it and then share it. And obviously a growler, you sell them 2-liter growlers or whatever it might be. So, hey, that is something that people would typically share. Is that just sort of mainly how it sort of grew? And also add to that the fact the stuff that you're making are the type of beers that people do want to talk about and do want to post pictures of online, particularly because you were doing them so early.
Yeah, I'd say like word of mouth, social media, and probably like the first sort of thing that got us the most attention was, I think it was early 2017. We did a collaboration with Shortfinger. We brewed a Clementine Double IPA, and we actually debuted that beer.
Oh.
Yeah, we debuted that beer at Arabella Park, and they had just opened a couple months prior, so they were like the hottest beer bar in KW. And then we did this Clementine Double IPA. It had like a fantastic turnout, and a lot of people who probably hadn't had experience with our beer yet had it. And then it was just like, I guess, eye-opening for a lot of people. People were saying, oh, these guys are like the Trillium of Ontario or whatever. And that's what really sort of kind of kickstarted that popularity. I think that first pulp event back in early 2017.
I remember that beer.
Yeah, that's cool. I fucking love Arabella Park. It's one of my favorite beer bars that I think I've ever been to almost anywhere. Like it's definitely like in my top 3 like of craft beer bars I've ever been to. And I misspoke earlier. I was saying Triple Simcoe was my first taste. Now but now I just remembered the first time I tasted Barncat was actually at Arabella Park, and it was 36-inch chain. That was on tap there. And that was my first taste in there. And from then on I was hooked. Yeah, like Arabella Park is fucking awesome, though. I love that place so much. You guys get in there pretty regularly, I think, right?
Not as much as we used to. So like early on, they had a different guy who was buying beer, Stephen Cleary. I think he's at Bellwoods at this point now, but like, so he was buying earlier on, and he was like, any beer you guys do, we want a keg of it. And then after he left, we haven't been on as much. We're still on there, but like not as regularly as some other places. But yeah, fantastic spot though, for sure.
Yeah, I've heard great things. I haven't been. We were supposed to do our first ever live ticketed podcast in April 2020, as you can imagine how that would happen there. But they reached out to us, and they thought that there would be enough people locally that would be interested in coming out. We put together, actually you guys were on I wanted to make sure I talked to you guys. I wanted to bring out, put together like a panel, like a mixed panel of different people, from someone from Arabella Park to represent like a beer bar, and then a bunch of kind of breweries in the area. And we were talking about the tourism office to do like, for there's like, I forgot the name of it. There's like whatever the tourism name of that whole area is that includes Cambridge. Like it's like something strange that makes no sense. It was like Windsor, but even though Windsor's still hours away or something like that. Anyway, I've only heard great things about Arabella Park, so that's great that's how you would have got the name out. That would have made, and that was 2017, you said, right, with the pulp.
That was like late January, early February 2017. So that was kind of like the first thing where it kind of started taking off at that point. That was the first one where like, okay, this is going well now.
Interesting. Okay. And from there, when was the first cans? Was that about the same time, or was that that was later on, right?
That was later on. So Nathan was right. The first can was Triple Simcoe. That was probably, I think that wasn't until 2018, actually. I think we did it in May 2018.
Okay. Good memory. So, in the meantime, you were just like, this was a side project for you guys. I'd heard from different people.
Initially, yes.
Initially, okay, and now you're both full time.
Yeah, so we did it part time, probably until I think late 2017, and then we've been full time since. Okay.
So and keeping it as growler only, and then just occasional cans was enough to keep things sort of moving, because I know that you were sort of limited with the space, and you were kind of like maxed Is that accurate? You were sort of basically tapped. You were producing as much as you could and selling out of everything at all times.
Back then it was fermenter space, which was the limiting factor. So like we would do bottles also, not of hoppy beer. Like we specifically didn't bottle hoppy beer, but we were doing stouts and sours and bottles.
Cool.
And then didn't do cans till 2018. So early on, it was fermenter space. Like we only had 4 fermenters, and some of them were tied up with like longer beers, like slower things like Brett beers and things like that. So it was like basically one batch of beer a week back then, just growlers and then kegs to like bars and restaurants a little bit.
Okay. And so it kind of like kept moving like that. You were sort of keeping consistent pace as far as you weren't able to kind of like expand or do anything at that point.
We added a few more fermenters, like a few bigger ones. So we like expanded the capacity that way. So, but for the most part, kind of kept doing what we were doing.
Okay. And then the cans started coming, and like you said, you explained why that happened. I guess the response was pretty I imagine would be overwhelmingly positive, being that you had generated hype amongst at the very, I imagine it went beyond Ontario, but at least the Ontario crowd who were looking for beers that looked like this that didn't really exist, and that also not everybody had access to a vehicle or could get down to Cambridge. So putting these bad boys in cans must have, like, people would have lost their shit over that, I imagine. Like Nate did.
Yeah, the first one especially like Triple Simcoe, we put a 1 4-pack per person limit, and we were like lined up out the door. It did last until Saturday because of that, but we sold it out like the first weekends, which was pretty crazy. Because like back then, like a triple IPA from a hazy triple IPA in Ontario in cans, like that didn't exist. Nobody else was doing that. So if you wanted it, like there was one place.
That's so cool, man. Like I never really thought about that, because I always really thought that it started at juicing, but this takes it back even further. Like, this is a history lesson tonight, guys. So
so back then, cool. Like nobody really knew who we were. Like probably prior, like Juicin', everybody knows Juicin'. We were doing a beer called The Juice like months prior to Juicin', but nobody knew who Barncat was back then though. So
right, well they goddamn do now, and I imagine
hopefully.
Oh no, they know. Trust me. So I think it's just so fascinating that like doing the can. So the can would have kicked ass the first one. Then how often did you do cans from there? So after the triple.
Yeah, we just did it fairly sporadically. I think the next canning we did a beer called Cats in Space, which was like Citra Galaxy. So that would have been sort of later maybe early 2019. We were just doing the occasional canning, like working with a local mobile canner, and then he ended up actually like getting out of the canning game. Okay. So we used Northern Canning a couple times. Like we canned a batch of pulp. I think that was the early 2020 we did that. So we were doing it pretty sporadically. And then like 2020 came and everybody kind of shifted to package stuff, weren't really doing growlers. And that's when kind of everything started being in cans. So
right. Definitely want to talk about that a little bit more. So obviously, any brewery who wasn't already doing any sort of packaging very, very quickly had to shift to packaging. There was no choice. It kind of put everybody in a position. So how did you guys adjust to that? Being that you already had a relationship with canners, you were doing some canning, it probably would have been better than a better situation than maybe some breweries who hadn't done any at all, and then we're like, oh fuck, now we've got to figure out how to access the cans, labels, a can, blah blah blah. How did you guys transition into this new world that was required?
Yeah, so we had canned a little bit, so we were familiar with it. We were set up to do it. We actually got pretty lucky that we had a mobile canning date. Probably, I think it was like early April 2020, and so we were just going to can one beer. It was going to be 36-inch chain actually. We had a whole bunch of other beers in tanks. So we're like, you know what? Let's just can them all. The mobile canner is going to be here, so we canned a bunch of beer, and then so like we got lucky that we were just like had that date anyway, because after that mobile canners got so busy, it was like so hard to book them. they were booking like 2 months out. There was like a couple months in the summer where we couldn't even get a canning date. We ran out of beer multiple times. Like nobody was showing up because we only had sour beer. There was no IPAs in cans, so it was a weird time for sure.
Jeez. But has it at this point? I mean, obviously 2 years in, I imagine a lot of those challenges are probably, or hopefully, sort of solved, and you've kind of got a bit of a cadence and a rhythm as to how you sort of, how often you can and how it works.
Yeah, we bought our own canner at the end of. Well, we like put a deposit on it in 2020, like probably mid 2020, and then we got it right at the end of 2020. So since then, we've been canning our own beers. So it's awesome. Like we'll can one beer every week. We do it ourselves. So there's been no issue. So like that's why everything is in cans now because we paid for it. So we're gonna use it.
I love it. And has that changed the way you operate the business at all, or is it like? I mean, obviously, the first lot of cans, from the Triple Simcoe and the occasional releases, were they just brewery only? I mean, I guess maybe they probably were because the independent bottle shops didn't exist until 2020 or whatever.
Yeah, they were pretty much brewery only because, like you said, like bottle shops didn't really become a thing until like later in 2020. So occasionally, like bars and restaurants would sort of have them for on-site consumption, but that was pretty like few and far between. So then the bottle shop thing was kind of crazy. Like, we'd have places show up and like fill up the back of their hatchback with cases of cans, and it was pretty crazy for a while, like how much beer these bottle shops were going through. And still, like right now, it's bottle shops have been pretty huge for us. So
that's great. Yeah, people kind of went off the head, eh? Like everyone went like a little intense early on and stocking up, and I always thought,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many people who could not keep beer on their shelves. Like almost anyone, it seemed. Like even like Dominion City, when they were even if they were only just canning their staples, like the stuff that they have all the time, like Two Flags and Town and Country Blonde, couldn't even keep those on their shelves. Those would be disappearing. It was a weird time.
Yeah, I think at one point Dominion City actually sold out completely of beer, which is crazy for them to think that like they could be completely out of beer. But yeah, it happens. So we saw the same thing. We're obviously a lot smaller, but yeah, there were days where we did like a can release and we'd have like lineups of people to the road. We'd sell like through everything in like a couple hours, and it was crazy.
Jeez. I guess it's cool though now. Like, I mean, that sort of initial grab at anything you can get seems to have calmed down. It was a strange time. Like
I mean, that was very much like a 2020 thing, which I mean, but for us it was good. Like that funded our own canner, which was nice, and it's calmed down a lot now. So like that doesn't really happen for anybody currently at the moment, but which is a little bit nicer. It's less stressful.
Yeah, I imagine.
Like running out of beer, and when you run out of beer and people get mad about it and things like that, sometimes it's not the best. So it's nice to not do that.
Yeah. We were talking to Troy from Badlands just last week, and he was telling us this the same story that when they were running out of beer and they were having people send them angry messages and whatnot, and he's like, guys, I get it, I love that you love the beer, but there's nothing we can do, we don't have any left, like you need to calm down a little.
Yeah, he experienced that like on a whole other scale because he was so tiny back then. He was like one barrel system. So like I remember that beers would sell out in minutes on his website, and then all the comments on his Instagram would be people getting like upset and telling them how terrible they are and things like that. I know that stressed out Troy a fair bit back then, but yeah, things are better for Troy now. So luckily.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it sounded brutal. While we're talking about about packages, let's talk about we talked about cans. Let's talk about bottles for a second, because I'm thinking back to my first visit to to Barncat, which probably would have been in 2018 sometime. And I'm thinking one of the things that I was able to take home from that first visit was Green Out. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen you guys make that since. And that was probably one of the first I think that was probably one of the first American barley wines that I remember having like a super very hop forward American barley wine, and it was a whole other experience. And I got to know if you're ever going to make green out again.
I'd love to, but it didn't really sell very well. So I don't know if we will ever
Mm.
do it again.
That's fair.
So
Yeah, that's
American barley.
sorry.
I would
Go
say
ahead.
American barley wines are definitely a style that's kind of near to my heart. When I got into craft beer, like around 2010, if you went to the States, like every sort of like all the best breweries in the States always had American barley wine. So like that's something I've been drinking for a long time, and I still love them. And we've done them a few times. The Green Out was one of them. We did a beer, I think it was probably like late last year, called Battle Cat, which was also an American
Yep, I
barley
had
wine.
that one.
And they just don't really sell as well as I would like, unfortunately. So we can only kind of sprinkle them in here and there. We're definitely going to keep making them, but it's not something we can do like super regularly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It makes me sad. I wish you could do them more often. I Battle Cat, when I had that, it reminded me of Green Out in that in that way. It was definitely very similar. And it kind of had the same kind of look to it too, like the thick, murky, almost kind of like apple cider like color to it. And then the big the big hoppy presence to it as well, along with that thick, sweet malt bill. It was it was reminiscent of Green Out for sure.
It was definitely like along the same lines, the base beer for sure, just change the hops a little bit.
Right.
One of the, I think I got it. I think I got it from Ren Navarro. She linked me one time with Rat Queen, a barrel aged Rat Queen, and that was one of the best barrel aged stouts I've ever had. So that is that like, what's the deal with that beer in general? Like, that is a regular thing, because I imagine there's like a regular one. You did something recently, actually. I think with that one with different.
Yeah, so that. Yeah, so that's our Imperial Stout. We released the first version like in 2016, just not barrel aged, just straight up Imperial Stout.
Okay.
And then we've done a whole bunch of versions since then. Like we did a rye barrel aged version in 2017, which again was probably one of the earlier like whiskey barrel aged Imperial Stouts like that in Ontario. Like there'd been a little bit, but like it wasn't super common thing back then either. So that's a beer we still continue to do this day. Like we just did in December, we did a double barrel version, we did a bourbon barrel version, and then we did a coconut vanilla. So we've done quite a lot of different versions of that.
It was just the one amazing. I'm trying to think of the one I had. It was, I'm gonna see if on Untapped it'll come up here, but it was just one of the most impeccable. I was kind of pissed because when I had it, I think I was kind of a little lit, and I shared it with my girlfriend. And I gave more of it to her, and I remember just being like, "Fuck, man! Like, why did I crack that one right now?" I just remember being mad about it because it was just like glorious. It was just such a beautiful business. You've done so many versions. I'm looking up on Untapped here. My God, there's a ton of them.
There's a lot of them. I would say after IPAs, I think stouts are kind of like the next thing people would say they know us for. So big stouts, we've done quite a lot of them.
Oh man, that's so awesome. So it's just like an annual thing for this beer?
It's not like super well scheduled. We kind of just do it. Like we try to fill barrels every year, so then it kind of just works out. We aim to leave them in the barrels for about a year, so then you sort of end up having every year. We're gonna do another version shortly, like a not barrel aged version with coffee. We're doing from a local roaster, and then we've got plenty more in barrel. So it's just one of those things that when it's ready, we'll release it, and usually kind of have to wait till like cooler weather, because in the summer they don't sell super well, but like in the winter people will just snap them up quickly. So kind of usually a couple times per winter.
The double barrel.
Are you able to say?
What
are you able to say who the roaster is that you're going to be working with?
Yeah, it's Morning Roast. We've used them probably for the past year every single like coffee beer we've done, we've used them. They've been fantastic.
They're awesome.
Nice.
I connected with them recently through Third Moon because I know they work with them on their Each Beast to God.
Yep.
And they sent me a bunch of like little samples of all their coffees. So super killer, man. Like, they do some really great shit. So that's awesome. It's cool that you've sort of been able to turn this into to turn that kind of skew into its own little beast unto itself that sort of has its own fan base. It's almost like you've got the Haze boys, obviously, who are here for this type of fire, but then you got the people who I feel like people are passionate about Rat Queen. I remember when you did the double barrel recently, like people were losing their minds over that. Like really.
Yeah, the double barrel sold out in 90 minutes, and that was another thing that people were really upset about. But had a good turnout for that. That was a cool beer. It took like 2 years to make that beer, so that's another thing. You don't see a whole lot of double barrel Imperial stouts. We actually did it in 2018. We did a different double barrel stout, which at that point, I don't know if anybody in Ontario had done a double barrel stout yet too. So
I only saw
kind of a fun thing.
No, definitely. I saw it last year. I think last year at Bellwoods for Bring Out Your Dead. That was the first time I ever even heard of it.
Yeah, they did a couple versions of that last year. So,
but previous to that,
it's definitely becoming more popular. It takes just such a long time to do, so it's pretty unique when you see it, and it's been responded to really well. So we're going to continue. We got another double barrel beer in the works right now. So.
Money, I love it.
It almost seems to have like a cult following, kind of like Bellwood's Motley Crue. Like that's like it's one that people show up for.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we've been doing it now for about 6 years, so people know it, and it's always responded to really well. So anytime we release one, we get a decent turnout, which is nice.
Yeah, as you would. It's glorious. I'm just looking at the time here. Do you want to do the next one?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So, the glorious Cats in Space Double IPA. I actually have had this one thanks to Nate. So I've actually been super fortunate because of your distribution to Dominion. Nate's able to get it, and we send beers to each other and stuff. So I've been able to he's hooked me up with some of this stuff recently. This beer is impeccable. So this is the Murky Boy, as you called it, which I never heard of Murky Boy before. That made me laugh. That's hilarious.
That's a thing now.
That's a thing. Yep, Jeremy coined it. Yo, I love how many firsts that you guys had, bro. Like the first haze in Ontario, the first double barrel. Very, very impressive, man.
Maybe. I don't know for sure if it was the first double barrel. It was definitely one of the first of them. Like we've just been around for a while now, so.
I think we should call it. We should call it.
I think
you did it. You did it first.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. So this is another beer we've been brewing for a few years now. For like when we first opened, it was impossible to get Galaxy, so we didn't get Galaxy until maybe 2017 or 2018, and we finally tracked them down. So I'm like, I want to do an all Galaxy double IPA, and we're going to call it Cats in Space. So we've been doing this for a couple of years now.
I love it. Your names are hilarious. What's the deal with this one?
Like I said, it's all Galaxy, and it was one of those things like all Galaxy, Cats in Space, cat theme. I don't know, it just made sense.
Oh yeah, Cats, Barncat. Yeah, I didn't even put that together. Love it. Yeah, this looks like in comparison.
Exactly.
I've almost wrapped this one here, but
yeah,
the murk is obvious.
Oh yeah,
you're right. The murk is
like a glass.
It's on another level here.
It's a glass of yellow milk.
Oof, yellow milk. Is that a good episode name?
It could be.
I think it might. But I'm gonna write it down, just in case, First of all, cheers. Get in you.
Cheers.
Great nose. Oh man, Galaxy is such an interesting hop. I feel like this expression of it is insane.
Yeah, this is punchy. This is This is a really good expression of of Galaxy here. Like it's kind of got the really punchy tropical fruit, with kind of like the passion fruit thing that really gives it a bit of extra bitterness and a little bit of tartness as well. It's it's one of those ones that like you really feel it on your tongue kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
Galaxy is a really interesting hop because it's so variable. Sometimes you'll have like absolutely fantastic Galaxy, and other times it'll be like pretty bad. So it's kind of a crapshoot a little bit. Like as far as I know, you can't even select Galaxy. It's one of those hops that they just basically are like, this is it. You like no hop selections for Galaxy. You kind of get what you get. So
wow.
it's always a little bit of a roll of the dice.
I guess probably
So
people.
we
Go on.
were talking to Troy about that, like about almost exactly this last week, like about Galaxy, and he was saying the same thing, that it is like that it is extremely variable, and like you say, you're kind of stuck with the blend that you get. But what he was like, and what he was saying, I'd be curious to see your take on this. He was saying that Galaxy this year has been kind of off. And that it's not like it's not quite working as well
Say
as
that.
it has been in like in previous years. And like it, like I'm finding it's tasting great in this. But have you found that Galaxy has been tricky this year?
We haven't really noticed that. Troy's funny in that way. Anytime you talk to him, he'll always complain about a certain hop, like this one isn't this good this year, and I don't know. He takes his hops very seriously. So I mean, he's made more IPAs than we have these days. So I'm sure he obviously knows what he's talking about, but I haven't noticed that.
Well,
Fair
this
enough.
one is glorious. I feel like this. I can't remember what he said. He was just saying that the like this to me is like the perfect expression of Galaxy as far as there's like this. I don't want to say astringency. I guess it's like the greenness. It's like a green, the hot burn kind of thing in this, which I love. Some people don't like hot burn. I fucking love it. Am I off by saying that that's in this beer?
I would say no, it's not. There's no hop burn. Like to me, what people call hop burn is like when you get like a kind of a yeasty beer, which that definitely isn't.
Okay.
It's certainly intense. It's got some bitterness for sure. So like that kind of might be what you're getting. Like it's
I think you're
juicy,
right.
but it also has like an assertive bitterness for sure, which you don't always get in like hazy IPAs. Sometimes they're just like kind of straight juice. We try to have like a little bit of bitterness there too to kind of back it up. That's maybe what you're getting.
I think you're 100% accurate, man. That's exactly as I sipped it again, listening to what you were saying. You're right. It's not the greenness. It's definitely this sort of like it's almost like a subtle pine in the back end of it.
You get kind of almost like maybe like a grapefruit kind of pithiness a little bit too.
Yep.
Mm.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's more what it is. Sometimes it's a little confusing.
Yeah, it's kind of that more like citrus zesty bit, like bitterness.
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Like this is impeccable.
Thank you.
I'm still blown. Like I mean, obviously your stuff is just A1, bro. Like it's cool to hear you talk about it because I've drank the stuff not as long as I would have liked. I've seen like there's this dude Sid. I don't know if I think he was one of the dudes who came through and helped you peel the clementines for the pulp original. This you know what I'm talking about.
Sorry, who?
This guy, his name is Sid.
Oh yeah. Ryza Brew.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him. I don't know if he's still around on Instagram. I haven't spoken to him for years, but I used to talk to him. He drove me crazy with his Barncat porn on Instagram.
Yeah, so Sid's kind of local to us. He lives just like maybe 20 minutes north of us in Guelph. I think he took an Instagram break for quite a while, but I think he made a comeback to post about our ESB like about a month ago or so. But
he's a bit of a purist now.
Yeah, he's on an Instagram break, but I know he mean he's kind of helped us out a few times. A really good guy, and he's kind of been like one of the people who early on kind of sang our praises, which is nice.
Yes.
So.
And I think early on, I don't know about you, Nate, but that's how I think I first heard of you guys through Sid. And talking about, I remember Pulp specifically. You didn't say the name of it, but you go, the Clementine beer. I'm like, fuck, that was Pulp. I remember it so vividly. And being impeccably jealous because I live out here. We're in Toronto a lot, but like we have a business and like clients and things to do in Toronto. Like I wasn't always able to get out there. And obviously as well, like you'd have to get a growler of it. It wasn't as simple as like, can you get me a 4-pack or something like that? So it was always like a bit of a tease to see what he was talking about, and certainly you guys were on that forefront. Once again, I wasn't aware of you guys at the beginning of it, which is why this conversation is extra fascinating to me. Because I didn't even discover. I lived in Toronto in 2010 through 2012, and then I moved out here. And I went to, because I was on Elsington and Bloor, so I was only a couple blocks from Bellwoods when they opened. And they weren't doing haze then. I did a podcast here with these homebrew dudes, and who do like funky wild stuff, and they were collaborating with a lot of professional breweries. And they told me that Bellwoods was doing haze. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because no one did it. I just thought it was juicing, and that was it. So then I went there and discovered them, and then sort of paying attention. So it wasn't even. It was hard to even find out who was doing what back then. So yeah, Sid was one of the dudes who was always like you said, talking about you guys and actually participating and peeling the fruit to put it in the beer and stuff, which was very cool. You guys, I thought that was a cool community building thing. I was like, okay, well, this is like a brewery that is very engaged with the locals and with their passionate, people who enjoy what they do. So I imagine you feed them some beers.
That's slave labor. Feed them beer and then make them do the hard work.
Hey man, can't blame you. You gotta do what you gotta do. You're making haze.
No, those are always fun days. Like you have a bunch of people come out and zest some fruit, and we have a few beers, and like it's a good time. So. Oh yeah, I was always kind of jelly. I never did that. I always like to do that one time. I think it's fun as hell. Sorry, Nate.
I'm sure that no one that no one who was there was was complaining about the work. No, like no one was there in protest.
No.
Like Sid was definitely one of the ones who was having all of your stuff and making us jealous. One of the guys who I had been talking to early on in my Instagram days was Chad at Bad Chatter. You probably know him. I think he was a regular. Around your place. He's the one who used to hook me up a few years back early on. He's the one who hooked me up with the can of Triple Simcoe. He even shipped me a growler once. I don't know how he managed to pull that off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, oh yeah, we know Chad. Like we see him every weekend still. Great guy. So he was another one, he's been coming almost since the beginning. And I know, or at least I don't know if he still does it. He used to ship beer to Quebec regularly. Like he would be trading with the Quebec guys and kind of getting, their beer and sending it back and forth, and he'd share a Quebec beer with us. So it was cool. So.
Chad's like a ground zero, beer trader from the early days.
I remember you telling me about it.
Yeah, he brewed a beer. He brewed a beer with us once. He wanted to come hang out on a brew day, so we're like, let's do it. We had Chad in, and we brewed barley wine that day.
That's dope.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a real like a badge of honor to sort of for a business to generate that level of kind of passion in your consumer base. I mean, that's pretty sick, man. Like the fact that they'll come out and just hang out and brew the beer with you, or help you make peel fruit, which isn't. It's a manual, like you said, manual labor job, but they'll do it because they like you guys. They love the product. The community is just like I don't know. Name another industry that people will come and work for the thing. Like I like there's certain shoe brands that I like. Like I'm not going to come to Vietnam and make the shoes with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people think brewing is a little more glamorous maybe than it really is. So like, yeah, we want to come and make beer, and then they come and realize, oh, this kind of sucks. But it's still fun though, and it's great. It's awesome to have people who are that passionate about it and just want to be involved, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's we've done a bunch of collabs, and obviously over these last couple of years, normally we're there on Brew Day, and the last couple of years we haven't been able to be, which sucks. But always the one thing all the breweries are like, don't come at 8 a.m. because it's just mashing in. It's no big deal. Just come for when the hop additions are. So you come in there and you smile for the photos. And, put the hops in. And, like it's a good time, but
yeah, exactly. You show up when it's boiling, and then you get a photo of you like pulling grain out of the mash tun, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
And drink some beer.
And drink some beer in the meantime, and keep everyone smiling. Yeah, it's a good time, but I just think it's really cool that you guys were. I'd never seen someone do that for a brewery until I'd seen Sid's photos of everybody who was there. And there was numerous people there peeling the fruit for the pulp beer, and this was at a time when there was a lot of interest in hazy beer, and it was, I don't know, it kind of made me. It gave an impression of Barncat. It was just like this wonderful organization making this incredible beer that people are going to go and volunteer their time to peel fruit so they can have access to this damn stuff, or that they they really fuck with you and Matt enough to do that. I just thought that was just such a cool thing. And, it's wonderful.
A little bit of it was like, we really want this beer, and we're like, well, it's a lot of work and it's a pain in the ass. So if you guys want it, you got to at least come help out, and then we'll do it. So,
hey man, it's only fair.
Well, that seems fair.
Yeah,
you
do your part. We'll do our part.
It's not unreasonable. It's super cool. So so look, you've got your beginnings and how you sort of essentially to me it sounds like you were the unheralded originators of a lot of different things in this. Which I'm glad we documented this part of it, because I think it's really, really cool. And now you're sort of able to can everything gets canned because you have that product. You're able to get it across the province into all some of your favorite retailers now, which is super dope. What other stuff are you guys trying to do for me? Obviously, you've got such a phenomenal Imperial Stout series. All of your haze is A1, like worldwide, world-class stuff. I don't think I've had any. Nate, have you ever got me Barncat lagers? I don't think so. I feel like I remember if you did.
I don't think I've sent you any of the lagers. No, I'll have to do that the next time. The next time one makes its way here.
Glorious. And I haven't had the barley wine either, but I'm personally just getting back into it recently and finding a new appreciation for it. I should think it was pretty boring and kind of ridiculous. And then in the last, this year, to be honest, thanks to Nate and a few other friends, that I've been sort of diving back into barley wine. I've really enjoyed it. So, you guys are doing all this stuff. Where do you take it from here? Do you have sort of grand aspirations for the brewery? Are you, what do you want to achieve with it, with all this type of stuff? Being that you're in the position that you are, that are sort of a very sought after, highly regarded brewery for everything that you do.
I think we just want to make people love barley wine as much as I love barley wine. So that's the next step. It's probably my favorite style. So our mission is to make it the hottest style, hopefully, and hopefully people will appreciate it as much as we do, and we can keep making a lot more of it, because I just want to drink barley wine.
Okay.
And that's when we'll see green out again.
Maybe. I think there's been more of an appreciation for more traditional English barley wines, especially barrel aged barley wines. We've done some bourbon barrel aged barley wines that have been really well responded to, so we're gonna keep doing those, and hopefully American barley wine becomes more popular, but I don't know if that will, to be honest.
Fair enough. I'm gonna keep pushing you for it either way.
Oh, we'll definitely do it again. It'll just kind of be few and far between, probably.
That's fair. That's fair.
Is it not there's obviously the Don't Drink Beer guys have kind of popularized the barley wine as life thing or whatever, but I always felt like it's pretty, unless it's hyper niche, but I feel like it was always kind of popular with certain groups of people and stuff, people who are kind of more the there's the hype boys, there's the lager people, and there's the people who mess with anything barrel aged, whether it's the high ABV, high octane shit, whether it's the Rat Queen type of crowd. They must all mostly enjoy the barley wine, no? Or is that kind of a generalization?
Yeah, there's some pretty good overlap. If you like big barrel aged imperial stouts, you're probably gonna like barley wine too, even if you're not super familiar with it, because there's a lot of similarities in the style. It's almost like a sort of not roasty imperial stout in a way. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of carryover between people who like those two styles.
Okay. So I was we have this every other Tuesday, we have this Instagram live session with Nate, myself, and Noah from Beerism and Chris from Hubs and Bros in Gatineau. So we talk about stuff, and Noah is really big on, he's one of the main beer writers here in Quebec, one of the guys who kind of started a lot out here. And he loves barley wine. And I was, like I said, a bit of a hater. So I tried, since the pandemic, I tried to have a routine with drinking. So I would take Sunday, Monday off, and I would take Wednesdays off. But on Wednesdays, on no drinking night, because I'm not drinking any other beers, my girlfriend and myself, who started the podcast with me, we would drink, kind of started going through the cellar. We're like, well, I'm not having any other beers, so I can actually drink these 10, 11, 12% Imperial Stouts that I've got sitting in the cellar, which is just behind the camera here, hence my gesturing. So we started doing that, and I asked Noah, I was like, we were talking, I was like, they kept talking about barley wine. I was like, man, like, I drank it back in the day, like, it's fine, but, like, sell me on it. And he kind of said exactly what you just said. He's like, you know what, he goes, what do you like about Imperial Stouts? I'm like, they're big and they're roasty, and they're, like, I love it when they're bourbon barrel aged, so you get the booze going through there, and they're just so, like, thick and decadent. He's like, all right, think of all of that, but it's like a caramel nutty version of what you're saying. I'm like, okay. So then the last few weeks, because I was splitting them with my girlfriend, so I was able to have a couple of drinks, of big beers a night. So we would have a barley wine. I had some that I'd just been ignoring intentionally. And I had like some bourbon barrel aged ones from Saint-Pierre Baron up in Aylmer, Quebec. I was like, oh my God, this shit is amazing. I was really impressed. So now I'm completely sold, man.
Yeah, I think barley wine has a couple things working against it. For one, the name is kind of weird. Like, it's not a very good name. Barley wine, like, it doesn't really sound like, it's not a sexy name, really. So that's strike one.
Okay.
And then strike two is, I think, it's a style that's tough to do. Like, there's a lot of fantastic barley wines out there now, but there's also a lot of ones that aren't very good. So I think even like in the past, like in Ontario, there haven't been a whole lot of barley wines. Like, we were trying to think the other day of like what breweries in Ontario have even really made barley wines like in the past, and like beyond, like Great Lakes have done it a few times, and they've done a very good job. The one most people in Ontario are familiar with is Beer de Zeus is fantastic, but the one I think in Ontario most people think of when they think of barley wines was there's one that I won't say the name, but has been like in a ceramic swing top in the past in the LCBO, and that isn't exactly the best. That's not really the best example of that style. So if that's your exposure to barley wine, then maybe you won't like it. So
yeah,
but good examples of this style can be like absolutely mind blowing. Like, if you don't like sweet beer, you're not gonna like it either. It's obviously a little bit sweeter, but like if you like that kind of thing, like you'll like barley wine for sure.
I can't remember the name of it, but Godspeed did an absolutely spectacular one.
I had that.
And I don't remember even the last time they put it out, but it's next level as anything that they put out.
Fuyu, Fuyu.
That's
I was there.
Okay, no,
Go.
I'll say I haven't had that one, but yeah, I mean they do some great stuff, so I'm sure it's fantastic.
Yeah, I just ran right before the pandemic. I was thinking it was like February 2020. I went to Godspeed. We've had Luke on, and he saw us there, and he just came over and brought barley wine, and it's just at the time, it's 2 years ago, it just was not my thing. I'm like, oh, fuck. But it's Godspeed, so I was like, all right, it's going to be good. And I was like, yo, this is fire, okay. And it still took me a little bit to kind of warm up to it. And we were asking the guys, like, yo, aside from Ontario, because you're right, as far as like you guys saying who else does it somewhat regularly.
Yeah.
It's few and far between. Out here, there's like Du Solstice d'Hiver. But even then, as far as regular output, it's totally like a seasonal, arguably probably like a winter thing. Like, it's just not something that you're able to be like, I'm going to go buy some barley wine now.
And even then, still pretty few and far between. Still not many.
I'd say, like, it's definitely been, I think, a little bit more popular in Quebec. Like, I remember years ago being in Montreal and buying, I'm not sure who it, like Simple Malt, maybe something like that. Like, it's definitely been more prevalent in Quebec than it has been in Ontario. You're seeing it a little bit more in Ontario now. Like, you have, like, Third Moon has done a couple, Reverence has done a few too. But, yeah, like the past beyond a few years ago, there wasn't really much in the way of barley wine in Ontario.
No, which is it's a bit of a shame, but I don't know. I feel like if Barncat, I don't know. I feel like your name holds such. Maybe to you it might not feel as much, but to me, if I hear like Nate telling me about the green out malt, he probably told me about it like 3, 4, 5 times, and I'm like, okay, if Barncat are doing it, I'm like, even before I started trying it and now being swayed to the barley wine side, I was like, if Barncat are doing it, all right, I'll try it. Like, it wasn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't even like a question. I was like, all right, let's go. Like, and I think that you guys might have that brand recognition that you're able to convince the people who may have questions about barley wine to put it in their face, if you know what I mean. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna keep trying for sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now, I'm conscious of time because I know we're trying to wrap up by 10ish. Did you want to crack the stout? Being it is St. Patrick's Day today, conveniently.
Yeah, you might as well.
I'm not scared. Nathaniel, are you down?
No, I'm down. Let's do it.
Oh, I'm going to finish all these later. Ugh, this Cats' Space is glorious. Could you expect the next one?
Oh man, it's spectacular, and like look at this lacing too. Like how glorious is that looking?
Yeah, I got the same. Honestly, dude,
that's those sticky hop, all those sticky hops.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yep.
It's just glorious, bro. Like, I was so looking forward to this podcast. This is as incredible as I thought. So, this beer, and I like this because Nate and I have a Twitter account called Team Lactose. This is a vanilla latte. Did you know that?
We don't do a whole lot of beers with lactose, but there's one of them.
There's one. So, vanilla latte coffee milk stout. I imagine it's a milk stout with vanilla.
Yeah, so it's again morning roast coffee beans and then vanilla from Costco.
Love it. Vanilla from Costco.
Nice.
That's even more.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about this one,
They
bro.
have very good vanilla extract for beer.
Yeah.
So that's a beer we've been doing for several years now. The base beer is just like a coffee milk stout. We've been brewing it probably since pretty much the beginning. And then just this has the addition of vanilla, which it didn't always have, but it just I think works so well. So
love it. Love vanilla. Love milk stout. Love lactose. Love morning roasts. I don't know what to tell you. It's amazing.
Oh, I'm loving the aroma on this as I'm pouring it already. Getting huge coffee off of it.
Yeah, this is basically iced coffee, pretty much.
Ooh, I love
in
it.
beer form.
Yeah.
It's called. What's it called again? Sorry, I go for taking a photo. Vanilla latte.
Vanilla latte.
Yeah, honestly, big fan of all of the above, and it's 6.5.
Yeah, something like that, 6.5%.
Something like that. Love it.
6.2.
6.2. Same thing.
Okay.
Gotta get it accurate. So
in that neighborhood.
This is a style that you have done a bunch of as far as the milk stout side of things?
Yeah, we've been doing a coffee milk stout probably since 2016. So this is pretty much that same beer, just with vanilla also.
Love it. And what's you just enjoy a milk stout? Like, was there any particular reason you wanted to do something like this?
Yeah, we just kind of wanted to have a lower ABV stout that's still intense. It's not as intense as Imperial stout, but lots of flavor, lots going on, and just a really good showcase for the coffee too, I think.
Man, this is glorious. Costco vanilla. The vanilla is just popping in this.
Yep.
The nose is I feel like it's just like the lactose and the vanilla.
This is another beer that goes back to my homebrew days. I started brewing this beer probably 2014, maybe 2013. So kind of been doing this very similar to this for a long time. This goes back to the growler days. We used to do growler fills of this too. Okay,
interesting. And what was the response? Once again, it's an interesting beer. I feel like milk stouts, I fucking love them, but I'm looking at the cans here, the vibe that you guys have created. What's the response to a product like this? Are people excited for it, or do they, because sometimes the hype folks, they want to come for their haze and they want like a 8,000% barrel aged stout. Like, how do they feel about this kind of like nice crushable sweet stout?
Yeah, well, it's certainly not like a hype beer for us. We do it a couple times a year, and it sells well. Like, it doesn't sell out as fast as IPAs or things like that. And it has we have like, there's definitely like a following. Like, every time we do this beer, there'll be a few people who are like, I have to have a case of it, so buy the case. So it's just a fun beer, and like, we've done a few different variations. We've done like a coconut version too. In October, we've done like pumpkin spice latte, which is the same beer with pumpkin spices. So kind of like, it's a fun base. You can kind of play around with a little bit.
Nate and I are
speaking our language there.
We are what we call basic bitches. We love pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nate, we have to make sure we get a hold of that, because that's what it's all about.
Make a note of that.
This is glorious.
We're gonna make a larger batch of the pumpkin spice this year, because it sold out pretty quick last year. So we'll scale it up a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys some for sure.
Oh, dude. Honestly, I think on the inside we're all kind of basic, are we not?
It's just delicious. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm from Australia. We did not have pumpkin spice anything. It's not a thing. So when I came to Canada and North America, I just went nuts right towards anything that's pumpkin, because it's just so, I don't even like pumpkin as a vegetable, but pumpkin spice, ooh, I would go nuts on anything. It's so fascinating to me. Even I've been here 11 and a half years, and I'm still fascinated by all things pumpkin. It does not get old for me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Nate's, because Nate is part of BAOS. I'm glad him and I see eye to eye on it. So I'm very glad that of all breweries, Barncat are doing a pumpkin spice latte. So thank you for all the basic folks like us, bro. I love it. This is great.
Yeah. That beer kind of like, the pumpkin spice kind of started out a little bit as a joke. We did it just as like a taproom beer, like a one-off keg, and people responded to it so well that it just like became a thing we do now. So
I love it.
I am not surprised.
I am and I'm not. I kind of feel like people hate on us for the love of pumpkin spice. I feel like people always make fun of us. So I don't know.
No, but man, that's but that's a thing of just like, the people that hate it are just very loud. That's all it always is.
What's the vibes in the when people come to the tap room? Like, are they about it? Are they like, man, give me that fucking pumpkin? Like, what's the vibe?
There are people who are adamantly against it, and then there are people who are very pro pumpkin spice too. So it's definitely divided. There are definitely customers that won't touch it for sure.
Okay, and how do you feel in personally? No pumpkin judgment.
I'm almost a little embarrassed about how much I like it, to be honest.
I want you to know.
I didn't think I would like it as much as I do.
Can I tell you, Jeremy, this is a safe space. You are welcome here, and we love pumpkin as much as you do. Yeah.
Can you break down
the first time we did the pumpkin
that are like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I go to the grocery store and buy a jar of pumpkin spices, and then we just add it to the beer.
And that's it.
Oh, okay. So just like the jar of like the blend of pumpkin spice. So probably like cinnamon, nutmeg,
allspice usually, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like McCormick's pumpkin spice or whatever. Like, the first time we did it,
right, okay.
It was one of those things that we did it as a joke, and it turned out way better than it should have. So like, we're just gonna keep doing it, because that was like too easy almost.
Oh, I fucking love that.
Oh, that's amazing. Like all things pumpkin spice, I feel like people front on it, and they front on it because they feel like they're supposed to not like it, because they're like, oh, it's pumpkin. But
as long as you drink it by yourself at home when there's no judgment, you're okay.
Well, that's how I've been drinking for 2 years, so I'm here for it. Let's go. And you know what? Yeah. I'll drink it in your. You have a tap room?
We kind of. So like, we closed it at like the start of the whole shit in 2020, and we haven't reopened it yet.
Okay.
It was one of those things that we didn't like. If we'd have reopened every time we could have, we would have had to close it like 3 times. So we're like, we're just going to keep it closed until we're confident we can reopen it. Okay. The problem we're facing now is we used that space as like extra storage. So it's kind of like a junk room now. So we need to clear out all the junk before we can reopen the tap room. So there will be a tap room again, just not at this current moment. We need to do some rearranging first.
That's fair. I was going to say I would proudly drink pumpkin spice in your tap room. Like, Jeremy, please, sir, may I have a pint of your finest pumpkin spice? And I would drink it and I would look everyone in the eye. And then fuck that.
We're going to have to, I think we're going to have to plan for the two of us to be in Cambridge by October this year. So hopefully you guys will be able to have the tap room back open by then.
I think that's safe.
Yeah, it'll be open. The pumpkin spice beer will be flowing. So we might even do a pumpkin spice rack. We might even do a pumpkin spice rack queen. Maybe.
Oh my God! Don't tease me.
I was gonna say, don't promise things you can't fulfill, sir, because that is very.
Oh, I'll make it. I'll make it happen.
I feel like we could make that a collab, Jeremy. I feel like we could make this a serious thing.
Oh yes, I gotta do that.
We could do a pumpkin. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know.
If we awesome.
I feel like that would be something like. You know, we've done a few collabs here and there, but pumpkin spice is one thing I have not dabbled in, and people know that Nathan and I are very pro pumpkin.
We'll send you guys. We'll send you guys to the grocery store. You can buy the pumpkin spice. That'll be your contribution. And we'll make it happen.
I'll do it.
Happily. I would be. No, I was gonna say I would be proud. I would be honored. To purchase the pumpkin spice.
No question. Don't need to think about it.
Nope. Is there so there's a pumpkin spice, but do you put like vanilla in it? Do you put like vanilla in the pumpkin beer too?
No, just the pumpkin spices.
Why don't we put vanilla in it? Change it up. Make it vanilla.
Maybe we can. Why not?
Hence the collab.
There's no rules. We can do whatever we want.
Oh, what about some actual... Do you put coffee in it?
In the pumpkin spice latte, yeah. There's coffee in it.
There's coffee in it. That's the only thing I can think of as vanilla for right now. Okay, maple.
Yeah, we can do it.
No, that's fall. And the maple's spring. We're talking fall. Okay, we can talk.
I think vanilla is a good idea.
Vanilla might be because this is like gorgeous. This is stunning. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is great.
It's like just a really nicely made. I feel like 6.2 is just such a money zone for a nice milk stout. That's just where it needs to be. It's not over the top. It's super crushable. It's St. Patrick's Day. I feel Irish, but also fancy and hipster. I'm kind of getting everything I need from this right now. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Glad you're enjoying it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Was there anything else we wanted to make sure we touch on just to keep us on track here? Was there anything else that we sort of missed as far as the journey?
I think we pretty much touched on everything, really.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Man, this was really cool. I feel like we all learned a lot. Like I really didn't realize that y'all started the haze, and the what was the second thing? It was the first the double barrel as well. Yeah. So
maybe
I'm gonna call it. I feel like that's what it is.
Let's make that declaration right now.
Haze thing for sure.
Haze and double barrel, prove us wrong. Let us know, and I'd like to know, but I believe you, and I'm here for it.
Unless anybody can prove otherwise.
Well, bring documentation, because this is some serious shit right here. But no, honestly, Jeremy, this has been really cool, man. Thank you so much for your time and for generosity. It's been really cool to drink the beers, talk with you, and really get this history. And I think it's really valuable to capture this on here. We're really trying to get Canadian and beyond beer history here on the podcast. And I feel like what you've done is what you talked to us about tonight has really captured a bunch of stuff, and it's very, very fucking cool, man. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Where
can everybody find?
Thank you for having me. It was a good time, and we can definitely do it again sometime.
Please, I would like to do it every year. I think that would be
I would love that.
Yeah, because I feel like things change so much, and it's super interesting to see. And I apologize. I know I would love to have done this a long time ago, because we started the podcast a little bit before you guys opened. So we should have done this a while ago. So I apologize, but let's really keep that up, and we'll keep in touch. But actually, almost just before I ask you that, let's take the thumbnail. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the screen here. Do you guys want to hold up the couple cans? Because I guess Jeremy, you have the.
I'll hold up my can.
Yes, hold that up. I'm going to see if I can get 3 up here. Oh, Nope, I'm going to get 2. Nate's got 3. There you go. Boom. All right. Y'all ready? Oh, that is stunning. That is stunning, mate. Jeremy, where can everybody find Barncat online, man?
The best place is probably Instagram, just at Barncat Ales. We have a website too, just barncatales.com. Website's always up to date with our current offerings. It's pretty basic beyond that, but yeah, Instagram's the best way. So
love it. Beautiful.
Where to find us?
I appreciate it. Nate, where can everyone find you online, sir?
Okay, so on every social platform, it's at NathanDoesBeer, and you can find all of my blogs on the BAOS podcast blog, or a quick link, nathandoesbeer.com, and you can find me right here, co-hosting BAOS podcast. Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on. This was really like a genuine pleasure to finally sit down and talk with you here.
For real.
Yeah, thanks again.
Appreciate it. Stick around. I'm just going to wrap this up, and we'll just say goodbye once I stop recording. But you guys, thank you again for hanging out. Everyone, if you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new drops. Follow us on social media at BAOS Podcast. Check the long-form audio so you can hear attractive gentlemen like Jeremy and Nathan talk about craft beer. We go live on YouTube and all podcast platforms at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is what we are now, every Wednesday. So you'll hear that soon. Guys, thank you so much again. We'll see you in the next episode. Get it in you.